It is now time
Game Blog Radio.
What up, everybody? This is Double G for FGB Radio, talking Money in the Bank, the pay-per-view in which a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion was guaranteed to, I don't know, what do you say? We went into this show knowing that a new champion would be crowned, as well as the new briefcase owner or the 24/7 number one contender. And you know what I was thinking? And by the way, no dirty white boy tonight, Jason. Instead, the notorious Big D. So he's
Woods, baby.
So you know what I was thinking, and I was thinking about this because of you and Draven. You guys are doing the K-Fabulous Lucha Brothers show. I was thinking of, the pay-per-views that the WWE has put on, WWF in the times that I can remember, where the title was set to be determined in one night. And you can go back to the 1992 Royal Rumble. It was a gimmick show where there was no champion. They had to determine their champion.
One of the greatest pay-per-views of all time.
The 1998 Survivor Series,
WrestleMania 4.
Deadly Games Tournament, and WrestleMania 4. But usually, they don't really do it that often to where they have these gimmick shows. A lot of times it's to determine the next contender or, the next WrestleMania. They used to do the King of the Ring. I think at one point was to determine who was going to main event SummerSlam as their one contender. So in this sense, we had a pay-per-view where it followed those traditions, which are few and far between, which I guess made it pretty special because they don't often do it. And I was thinking that, maybe we are in for kind of a special night. Now, I will admit that what happened was very predictable, but I don't know if that is necessarily a bad thing based on, the possibilities coming up. But first off, I just want to get your thoughts on the first Money in the Bank match. We'll talk about the match in whole. I just kind of want your initial thoughts on Seth Rollins, the winner of the briefcase.
Kind of predictable. I think most of us kind of called it. And I think it's a really good, solid way to springboard him into his singles career. I mean, really. Like we talked about on the 30 for 30 WrestleMania 26, which should be up by the time you hear this on SuperFriendsUniverse.com and on your website, FightGameBlog.com, but there's the plug. But no, like we talked about on there, the Money in the Bank has kind of become the de facto way of getting a new guy in the main event. I mean, that's pretty much the only way they even know how to do it anymore. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. So what better way to springboard his singles push than to have him win this?
The thought, I guess the only two people who anyone really thought had a chance were Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. I know people thought Wade Barrett, Bad News Barrett, had an outside chance to win as a dark horse, but he
got hurt.
He wasn't in the match. He got hurt. He hurt his shoulder, and so he was pulled out. And they didn't bring in a surprise person. So, no Bo Dallas, who was on the show in the pre-show. No Miz. No Christian, who was on the panel during the pre-show and during the show. So they just went without an extra guy. And I don't think that match skipped a beat. And we'll get to that as we talk about the show in whole. Okay, so now the main event of the show, the Money in the Bank championship match. They have never done this before. This was the first time that they had the actual title on the line. They did a TLC match in December with Cena and Orton, so it kind of takes away from the specialness, being that just 7 months ago they kind of did the same thing for the unified title there. But John Cena was one of the heavy favorites. I would say Roman Reigns was another favorite. I think Bray Wyatt was a bit of a dark horse, and I think Randy Orton was the, sort of, if all else fails, we could always give it to him. And so Cena wins, very predictable. We've seen it, so many times. Though, if this is going where I think it's going, it was probably the right move, and you don't handicap someone like Bray or someone like Roman to have their first win being in this match and not at WrestleMania, or be like a short title, short reign, and you don't want that to happen to those guys either. So, John Cena, Randy Orton, probably the two best picks as far as, just a guy who's been over, who will stay over, and who won't be hurt by losing the strap. And they chose Cena. So what were your initial thoughts on Cena?
Well, it's the safe pick. It really is. Cena was the safe pick, and even though the internet is going to be set ablaze yet again with anger from the hardcore fan base, I don't think WWE cares, and why should they? I mean, really, people are going to order the network and be locked in anyways, and it's one of those things where at this point, it's no longer about getting these individual shows to be bought. I mean, they still push it. You still want to promote it as something important, but you can tell, and especially with this show, you can tell that it's no longer about providing that must-see card and getting pay-per-view buys. The emphasis has definitely gone down. Now, in a different era, I feel that they would have probably given it to one of the three new guys, whether it be Bray, Roman, or Cesaro. Those are the three guys who have never won the title before. I think in a different era it would have happened, especially during the Hot Shot Monday Night War era when you want to keep things fresh all the time. I think that they had balls back then, because that's the other thing. They definitely had balls back then. Now they went with the safe bet. You don't have to do that anymore. So, like you said, why risk ruining the chase of all three of these guys? Because let's be real here. One of the cool things about the roster right now is that Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, and Cesaro are clearly on their way up, and this is perfect to put them in this match. But each of those guys, each one can have a compelling title chase. And the cool thing is that you can do three totally different storylines, three totally different chases, and three totally different times, and you're going to have a great storyline if it's done properly, if it's done booked solidly. So you don't have to do it right now. And that's what they decided. They decided to go ahead and do the safe pick, and that's what happened. So that's where we're at. I didn't hate it.
By the way, I am in, we are on the absolute furthest distance in the United States that we could possibly be away from each other as we record this.
Oh, you're not in Alaska, are you?
Well, yeah, I forgot about Alaska or Hawaii. But from coast to coast, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, about 90 miles south of San Francisco, where it is about 85 degrees outside as I record this 9:37 in the morning or in the evening. And you are in the other Bay Area in Tampa. Is it still hot over there?
It is scorching. Weather channel says 80 degrees. I'm not buying it. It's more like 100. Last night, Draven and I taped an episode of the K-Fabulous Lucha Brothers show, and it was the same thing in L.A. He was talking about how his neighbor's AC is broken, so they're outside with the fans. And, yeah, that's how it is now. What can be said? At least we have this wonderful invention called air conditioning to bail us out.
Yes, we do. All right, so let's talk about this show. We'll go from front to back. And by the way, did you have any network issues tonight?
The only network issue I had tonight, very minor. The audio went out like twice, and that may have been something for the pay-per-view. Also, maybe not just the network. And at one point, it went black for about 10 seconds, and that's it. That's it. Other than that, everything was perfect. I Chromecasted it from my computer to my living room, Kurt. And by the way, if there's one guy on earth who's more of a freaking Chromecast dick rider than Court Bauer, it's me. If you don't have an Apple TV, if you don't have a Roku, and you want something simple, the Chromecast is the way to go. It's beautiful. It's awesome. But yeah, no issues.
I was not at home watching this, so I didn't have my Apple TV. So instead, I tried it on the PS4, and in the pre-show, it conked out, and I couldn't get it to restart. So I also had it going on my laptop at the same time, and then went to the Roku box, and that was better, though the picture wasn't great, and every 45 minutes it would rewind for 2 seconds. So, but those were the main issues. I was, this was the first time that it's the second time. The first NXT special that they did, the Arrival special, I had tons of problems, but this was the first time really that I had any issues with the network where, it was a sort of a big traffic day. I've had issues outside of, earlier in the network. I think the first week of the network, a lot of people were having problems just getting on. But this was the first time, so I was a little disappointed, because WrestleMania was so smooth, and then the last 2 pay-per-views are so smooth. So, WWE Network subs are coming up. If I was them, I'd get it into gear a little bit. That should not have happened today. And hopefully they will. But did you get to see the pre-show?
Yes, I did. I watched the pre-show, and I just got to say this, dude. It's pretty telling that Daniel Bryan was on the pre-show. I mean, that to me, maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of it, but kind of want to put him on the pay-per-view. But I guess they didn't want to do like a whole angle on there, and they kind of recapped it anyway. So, but I saw the whole pre-show. Those pre-shows are just not my thing anymore. They were fun at first, but now they've become so scripted that it's not even fun. It really isn't.
So just to quickly recap, the only thing of note in the pre-show was
that Booker T and Christian are former TNA World Champions, and Alex Rise a future TNA World Champion.
In addition to no Josh Matthews.
Well, he's fired.
And in addition to Daniel Bryan was on the pre-show, like you said. So Daniel Bryan came out. Michael Cole interviewed him. Daniel Bryan was in some, some Bugle Boy jeans. I don't know, and a sort of a dressy shirt. Like, he looked okay, but he wasn't in a suit or anything like some of these guys would be. And it's just Daniel Bryan. So
I mean, in my opinion. And I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but this is something that I feel kind of strongly about. The yes thing, not the chant, but him doing yes kind of needs to go because it's really goofy now. And especially when, I was irritated at this because he comes out and he's happy, he's smiling, and he's like cheering and doing the yes. And, bro, you just got stripped of your title, bro, and your wife got fired a month ago, dude. And he's happy. Like, shouldn't his attitude be, I'm going to come back, I'm going to get my wife rehired, and I'm going to kick whoever's ass has the championship. So whoever wins this thing is going to have a target on their back. That's the wrestling that I like. I don't know about you, but he just comes back, and I'm just thinking in my head, geek, just complete geek. The yes thing, I'm not saying that that the fans should not chant yes, and that he shouldn't do the yes thing after he wins his matches. But him coming out doing the yes and the little fingers going up, and it's played out to me. If you want to get this, if they really wanted to get this guy over, bro, he has to come out there and be a killer. He has to go out there and tap dudes out. Tap or snap, even though that's already copyrighted. He's got to come out and do that, bro. And to me, like, maybe I'm in the minority here, it's getting played out, and it's getting goofy.
He did all of those things that you said. He just didn't do them in the way that you wanted to.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said both of those things that you just said, he did them in this interview. He just didn't do them as an angry guy. He didn't
show fire, bro, and that's the thing. He hasn't shown a lot of fire promo-wise. And it's not that he's not capable of it. Anybody who sits there and says he's not a good promo has never watched Ring of Honor. The guy can really show some fire when he wants to, all right? It's too goofy at this point, man. It really kind of bugs me. He shows fire during his comeback, but
Okay, true or false? When he came out, it was the loudest crowd reaction of anybody who came out tonight.
I honestly can't give you a true or false. I did not notice it. I'm not saying he's not over, dude. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he needs to stop being so damn goofy.
But, okay, so his character is over because he's an underdog babyface who, in his own way, doesn't allow the heels to get over on him in the way that they get over on everybody else on the show. Now, when I say get over, I mean they can do many things to him, but it doesn't faze him, and he, like he said on this show, he's like, hey, they couldn't beat me, so they had to take my title away, like, because they couldn't beat me, like he said.
Yeah, but
that.
see that's bullshit. That's bullshit. The guy had the belt for a month. They couldn't beat me. Who couldn't beat you, Kane? He never even defended the belt. That's what I'm saying. That's insulting my intelligence.
But it's not.
I'm not retarded.
He beat Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista all on the same night.
And then his only title defense was against Kane. And that was it.
But that's what he's saying.
That was it. What about Bray Wyatt? What about his fucking shot? What about Cena's rematch? No, I'm not buying it, dude. Look, if you want to disagree with me, that's cool. I'm just telling you, man, I'm not buying it. It was stupid.
You don't have to buy it. All I'm saying is that all the things you wanted him to say, he said it. He just didn't say it in the way that you wanted him to.
He didn't say it with any fire, and that's an issue, if you ask me.
But the way that he's booked, if he came out and his character was like, angry and screw this and screw that, it would be a total 180 from what he has been and how he's gotten over. So, whether or not that's the right way to do it, I don't know. But he was still over more than anybody else on this show, more than Roman Reigns. Part of it had to do with he was like the beginning of the show too. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But
plus Roman Reigns didn't really hit that level yet.
But they've pushed him exactly the way that you want Daniel Bryan to react, right?
And that's what I think is going to hurt him in the long run. I'm telling you, I think it's going to hurt him in the long run.
It's going to hurt Bryan or Reigns?
No, Bryan. I think it's going to hurt Bryan. If he keeps being goofy, bro, and smiling, it's going to hurt him, dude. It really is. And that's my honest opinion. Reigns has to be booked differently. Reigns has to be booked like more of a badass. But a different kind of badass. Like, Bryan can be the... Yeah, no, that's fine. No, they're doing okay with him. I'm not complaining about that. He's got a match with Randy Orton next pay-per-view. I think it'll be fine. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that it, like, you can't book everybody to be the same, dude. You just can't. Everybody's different. If it was me, Bryan would be the submission badass, and Reigns would be the brawler-type badass. And then you've got two different kinds of badasses. I'm not saying to have Daniel not be a little goofy sometimes. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that it's the yes thing where he's all, no, man, you got to come out there and go back to being the American Dragon, bro, and tapping motherfuckers out.
But none of that is what got him over.
But what's going to keep him over? He can't be the same forever, bro. He can't.
Well, I mean, he's had many character changes already, and this is the one that has worked the best. So, at the peak of his popularity, for you to say, "Oh, he needs to zig and zag," instead of just get healthy and be what he has been and continue to gain steam, I think it's kind of premature. Like, in a perfect...
So you're saying hold off on that? I'll agree with you on that.
Well, when you keep saying who you want him to be, I keep thinking Kurt Angle.
Maybe.
And I think it's Kurt. I mean, Kurt is a true badass, so that's why he comes off as one. But I don't know. I think there is depth in his character. I think when they make him look weak, it is definitely a negative thing. But for him to come out, the guy just had neck surgery. He's probably going to have neck surgery again, at least if he was being honest in his promo. He has no idea when he's going to get back. So to say, he's going to whip whoever wins the belt's ass. I mean, he kind of said it. He said, look, I'm going to be back, and I'm going to come back for that title. and, I'm going to be back better than ever. And he even said, Stephanie, he sort of hinted at it. He said, Stephanie, something to the effect of, she's going to get her comeuppance too. And I assume that meant that, Bree somehow is involved in that. So,
well, I hope so. I hope that they eventually do a mixed tag. That could be a good pay-per-view match, bro. Steph and Trips against Daniel Bryan and Bree. I think that'd be a fun little match. That being said, though, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's just that I don't think the yes thing. I don't think it has that many legs, dude. I really don't. You know what I mean? Wrestling's always been out of sight, out of mind. Depending on when he comes back, that's what it's going to come down to. It depends on how soon he's ready.
I'm gonna go with what Jim Cornette likes to say. How can we miss you if you never leave? Like this is a leave spot for Daniel Bryan, and if he's gone for 6 months, when he comes back, maybe there needs to be some adjustments. But if he's only gone, we've seen him on TV twice in the last month. If he's gone for another 3 weeks or 4 weeks, then I think, it's enough time and he can just build upon the momentum. But, I don't think you kill the yes chance when...
Not the chant. Him doing and being goofy.
But at any point, whatever he's doing with the chant, I don't think you change anything until you see that it is becoming lame, like you said. Because, the thing about that is professional sports teams are doing it now, right?
Yeah.
So... when you get a little bit of visibility in that way, that's, free, like it's free PR.
But WWE has a tendency to tear things to shred and beat it to death, so...
Yeah, but they can't do it, without him, because every time someone else other than him tries to do it, it's just, the fans just kind of spit on it and they don't follow. So he's got something with that. I don't think he's going to be doing it the same in 2 years, but I don't think you just kill it now until it's proven that that they need to switch. But so they brought out Bo Dallas, who now I really want your opinion on this because the Bo Dallas love is kind of
weird.
It's weird because at first I think people are joking when they say that Bo Dallas is going to be the next big XYZ. I assume that they're joking. And this is nothing against... there's nothing against Bo Dallas. Now, he has a gimmick that is currently working and that the Vince McMahon and Triple H haven't killed yet, dead, sort of like Adam Rose's thing. And it's sort of funny, and it's comical. This was the first time that you had a real baby face kind of spit in the face of Bo Dallas, though, because Bo Dallas came out. He did the whole, John Cena or Daniel Bryan, you're going to be okay. You just have to believe thing. And Daniel Bryan called him he said, you're acting like a boner.
Again, that'd be a goofy John Cena baby face. Make everybody like that. That'll work.
That was absolutely lame. I agree. And then he told Bo to leave his ring. So I didn't know what to do with that because this is the first time where Bo was made to look like the goofball instead of sort of getting one over. Like you can almost consider that a loss to his record because of how Bryan kind of just smoked him right there. But give me your thoughts on Bo. Do you as that gimmick is portrayed today? Do you think he can do anything other than be a better version of Zack Ryder or that kind of goofy comical thing where people don't really take seriously except in the mid card?
It's not a main event gimmick, but the gimmick is working for him now, and he's lucky because he had a lot of issues for a long time. He's maybe not lucky, but you get my point. He's got a gimmick now that is working for him because he gives off this aura of being such a douchebag. And so why not go there? It's classic pro wrestling. If the guy looks and acts like a douchebag, why would you try to make him a babyface? Same thing with The Miz. The Miz looks like a freaking douche and sounds like a douche and talks like a douche. So why are they going to try to make him a babyface and give him Ric Flair? It's not going to work. But that's a conversation for another day. So I don't think he's going to go past mid-card level. I think what's going to end up happening, if you want me to give you a prediction, is that the gimmick's going to get played out, and WWE's going to keep pushing it, and then it's going to end up flopping, and they're either going to give him a change of a gimmick or they're going to send him back to developmental. But there's lots of things they can do with him. I mean, there is lots of stuff they can do. People want him to be incorporated with the Wyatts at some point because his shoot brother is Bray Wyatt. There's lots of stuff they can do with that guy. There really is, because he's not horrible. He's just a douchebag. But right now, coming in his first year and a half, maybe 2 years, maybe less than that, maybe his first 8 months, I think it's a good gimmick for him.
The thing screams Honky Tonk Man to me, because if you remember how Honky Tonk Man originally came into the WWF, he kept saying that he was the friend of Hulk Hogan, and so he was portraying, sort of like how Angle came in too, where Angle thought he was really a babyface, but the crowd booed him.
Yes.
It's very much, but I think it's more Honky Tonk Man than Angle. And he was going to be a heel, but he pretended that he was a babyface and that he was friends with Hogan. And so maybe that's where Bo Dallas can actually live, in that sort of Honky Tonk Man heel part. Like this is the same thing with Fandango and guys like that. Damien Sandow.
Yeah, it's a low card gimmick.
It's just people want to latch onto something that they find entertaining, but
then they'll give up on it. They Fandango. What's going to happen, bro?
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I was not out of the loop on this guy, because I was just like, wow, I don't get this thing as an entertaining thing. I get it, but as like a real, can this guy do anything other than be in the mid card? I don't get that.
I don't think so. Plus, he's not that good of a worker, bro. He's not that good. He's just made to be mid-range, bro. I'm going to be real with you, dude. I'm going to be totally real with you. Look at his body. If it wasn't for who his father was, I don't even think he'd be in developmental. Point blank.
Well,
I don't.
Both of those kids must have crappy genetics, because,
one is too skinny and one is too fat. It's fucking weird. It's like and that's what I'm saying, that they don't like guys who have those looks. But again, because of who your father is, you get in, you get a pass. Luckily, Bray Wyatt's done a lot with it, so he might be around for a while. But with Bo, I don't see him being around that long. But I could be wrong, dude, because you never know.
All right, so the first match of the night, I thought they were going to open with the first Money in the Bank, but they didn't. They saved that for, I think, the fourth match. First match was the Usos versus Rowan and Harper. I think most people thought that Rowan and Harper were going to get the straps tonight. They've been booked really strong of late, but they didn't do that. The match was pretty good. I thought the finish was a little bit overbooked, but other than that, like, it was a really strong opening. I don't know what some of these moves are called, but Rowan and Harper, they did sort of the one man razor's edge onto one of the Usos, and then I think someone hit a power bomb to follow up a Batista bomb.
Brody, or Frank Brody as they call him. He did a sit out power bomb, which was awesome.
And I thought that was going to be the finish, but no, the other brother came in and broke it up. And then the Usos actually hit a double superplex from the top rope, which is pretty sweet, though my buddy was watching. He said, if this was a shoot, would a double superplex hurt more than a regular superplex? Like, no, probably not, but it looks sweet.
I don't think so, yeah.
But it looks sweet.
That's wrestling logic.
And then they both hit big splashes off the top rope on Rowan for the pin. Did you like the match, and did you feel that it was overbooked as well, or did you think it was right on?
No, I disagree with you. I thought that was a good match, and I actually liked the finish, because the finish protected Rowan, because they had to hit the double superplex, then they had to hit not one but two splashes. I like that a lot, actually. I really do. I really like that a lot, because it protects them, dude. So I liked it. It was probably my favorite. I would say it was my favorite non-ladder match on the show.
I would agree with you. I think it was probably the third best match on the show, or I think some people even liked it better than the main event ladder match.
I did. I liked it better than the main event ladder match.
Okay, so Naomi and Paige, they've been teasing Naomi and breaking up with what's that girl's name? The other Funkadactyl.
Not. I wasn't calling it Campbell.
Cameron.
Cameron. Yeah.
And so this started out, and I thought, like, oh, we may get a little bit of an athletic kind of contest, a good match, but no, it was really clunky. Naomi's athletic, so she did try. Like, she did it. She dove over the top rope. I think she dove a little short because usually Paige would take that move and catch her on the chest, which would allow her to bump on her back, the upper back. And instead, she caught her on her stomach. So it was like she got hit, so Naomi just landed right on her gut. So I don't imagine that was easy to sort of take on the outside. And then they both went to the top rope, and I was like, oh, two sort of superplex things in a row. But they screwed it up, or maybe it was supposed to be blocked, but they ended up spilling onto the outside. Naomi was able to do her big butt splash move, whatever that thing is called. And then Paige actually went for a sharpshooter, but it got reversed. And then Paige hit was it like a cradle DDT or some sort of DDT?
It was like a cradle DDT. Yep, that's pretty much what it was.
Hit a cradle DDT for the win, planted her pretty good, and so Paige is still the champ. Cameron and Naomi seems to be the bigger angle, or the bigger story, more so than Paige. And Cameron was right by Naomi's side, looking like she was feeling sorry for her friend, even though in watching the entire match she looked really mad. So they're setting up for a split, probably in the near future with that one. But Paige wins again, and she is probably the compared to the way that they booked AJ as a wrestler, they have not been able to book Paige in the same way for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's just at this point, bro, the women's title, the Divas title, whatever, it's basically, in my eyes, it's whoever has it is holding it and polishing it for Ric Flair's kid. I mean, that's the way I see it right now. And the Paige project is not working. Could it have worked? I believe with a different direction, yes. I believe if you play up the fact that her entire family, her father, her brother, and her mother are all professional wrestlers, I think you have a story there. And I think if you actually bring them in for some angles, could you imagine how cool it would be? Legitimately cool if they brought in her whole family and they did some kind of angle with any heel woman and she brings in her guys. So you have this wacky mixed tag at Survivor Series, right? You do a Survivor Series elimination match, the mother, the father, the son, and the daughter against the two men and two women. Like that. Again, that's my kind of wrestling, dude, because that would be so awesome seeing that family wrestle together. And that's their dream. There's a documentary out there about it. I don't remember the name, but it's on YouTube. So, I mean, it's just the fact that this girl is legitimately part of a wrestling family. Again, you've got a ready-made story with Natty. I am part of a wrestling family. There's just so many great storylines that you could create with this character based on the fact that her family's in wrestling, and this creative team just fucking sucks, dude. I thought you had to be creative to be a creative team member. Or maybe, you know what, maybe it's not their fault. Maybe they pitched the idea, and maybe Vince and Hunter and Kevin Dunn said no. So let's not blame them. But you get my point, right? It's not working, and it's just being held for Charlotte.
Well, they did that on NXT with Natty and Charlotte, and that worked to perfection.
I know, but they could do that on the main roster.
No. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah,
they could even do a three-way feud.
All right. So Damian Sandow dressed as Paul Revere versus Adam Rose, and This was not, from what I understand, this wasn't on the match, at least the match listing that I saw.
No, it was added. That's what they've been doing now for the past couple of years. They've been adding matches late to the card or the night of the card to fill up time. This is something they've been doing for 2 years now. I guess that they don't announce that many matches because they want to time the card out first and see if, so they don't have timing issues, to see if maybe they have enough time for everything. And then if they don't, they can add a match on there. But yeah, there was a bonus match between two guys who are, one of them has been killed to death, and the other one is killing himself softly with his song. I mean, really, it's I hated this, dude.
Yeah, well, it wasn't good, and so I actually wrote an accidental typo in my in my write-up to this. I called Damien Sandow Paul Reverse instead of Paul Revere, which actually kind of fits. Yeah,
it does. He is Paul Reverse.
The only thing that I could think of while watching this, I thought of three things. Like, I didn't really care what was going on in the match. I did, it just was like, it felt like the main event to WWE Superstars. And when I watch a pay-per-view, like, if there's a WWE Superstars match on the pay-per-view, like, my thought is like, okay, like, what am I paying for? So I thought three things. A, Damien Sandow deserves better. B, if they want Rose to be anything, being competitive with Sandow is probably not the way. And C, thankfully it's over. Adam Rose won with his little double arm face buster, or whatever his move is. Probably some pun on the word Rose that I don't remember because I don't care. Poor Sandow, he's stuck in gimmick hell. We've seen guys like this before, whether it's Christian and a losing streak, or
MVP in a losing streak. Jericho in a losing streak.
You put like these goofy things on him where he dresses up like some sort of character and just loses every single week, and he's going to be, I hope not, but, he's on his way to Zack Ryder status, and that's unfortunate because he's so much better.
He is. He's very talented. He's very over. Or not very over. He could get himself over. And the Adam Rose, I don't want to turn this show into Big D the Booker. All I'm going to say is this. The Adam Rose character, a guy who's on E, I know people who live the Adam Rose character, all right? And there's a lot of potential here, right, to do really fun vignettes from the Erotic Express or whatever the hell it's called, the Exotic Express. I mean, they could imagine if they were half as creative as they claim. They could have all of Adam Rose's vignettes and all of his, all of his stuff take place from the Exotic Express. Like, Brad Maddox knocks on his door, hey, you got a match, and you see a big puff of smoke come out, and he's like, all right, I'll be there. Just that kind of comedy, bro. And I'm making all this stuff right now as we go along. You could have somebody slash the tires of the car, and then it's like who done it, and then the bunny's like investigating. That's how you have an undercard gimmick that's made for entertainment purposes. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this guy needs to be a top guy. That's not what I'm saying right now. But there's so much potential, dude, with this gimmick, with this character, with the costume and the entourage. And it's, again, another character that's never going to be fulfilled like it could be.
So the first Money in the Bank match, Seth...
They need Russo back. They really do. Really.
Jesus Christ.
They need Russo back.
Seth Rollins versus RVD versus Jack Swagger versus Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston versus Dean Ambrose. Much like you would in a real fight or if you have beef with somebody, Ambrose immediately runs to the ring and goes after Rollins, and they go
Shawn
to the
and
outside.
Marty, baby. And Tito and Rick Martel.
They go to the outside. It was really a Kofi Kingston spot fest very early. I know you don't like Kofi. He
was pretty cool tonight. I gave him a break tonight.
He was good. He was. It was sort of like how, Shelton Benjamin would be pushed all year long as just like sort of like a win-loss guy. But then you put him in a ladder match and it's like, oh, we get to see the real Shelton, and he would get over. Same thing with Kofi. He was
ladder matches and battle royals. That's where he shined.
Yeah, he was over. He was over a lot in this match. He did this one move where he was pushed off the ladder, and he was pushed towards the top rope, and like most people, they either take the bump on the throat, or they take it on their nuts. But instead, Kofi used both of his feet to catch himself on the top rope, catapulted himself, and dove onto the guys outside of the ring. That was really cool.
That was awesome. And understand, those are WWE ropes. They're very loose. WCW ropes were a lot tighter.
It was a very smart move, though. He did not get pushed from very far, so his natural momentum took him right to the top. So it's not like he had to jump or anything, but it was still very impressive. Just his own, he's got so much balance and just he understands the
wasted potential, man. Wasted potential.
Yeah, for sure. So RVD got some stuff in this match too. He did the Rolling Thunder spot where he sat Seth on the ladder, which was kind of perched onto the bottom rope, and then he put Seth on it and hit the Rolling Thunder on him. He also had a 5-star. He got powerbombed off the ladder by Swagger, and then in another kind of cool thing, which just the thought process of how these guys are landing. I think he was on. I think he catapulted Seth from the ladder onto a ladder that was laying almost perpendicularly because they sort of shoved it into one of the rungs, and so Seth had to take a bump where he landed flat back on the ladder, and then the ladder started to fall. So he had like 3 bumps all in one, like all the way down to the ground.
There were a couple of bumps in this match that were really nasty, specifically the Dean Ambrose one where he looked like he damn near broke his neck.
Yeah, there was a superplex spot where Ambrose superplexed Rollins from the top of the ladder, and then he did the float over like he was Barry Windham or something, from the top of that stinking ladder. Like, that was nuts.
I like his look too with the wife beater. I kind of like that little look. I like how Seth Rollins, who needs new music ASAP, Jim Johnson, get on it. I like how Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose basically look like Wolverine, both of them, 2 different clothing attires, because those are like, both of those clothes are what Wolverine wore, dude, like an X-Men, when he's chilling and when he's like an X-Man. And that was kind of a weird observation there.
But also I was thinking with Dean Ambrose's gear, it was Shawn Michaels' 2002 SummerSlam against Triple H.
And Shawn Michaels' 2005 against Edge in the match where they both wore the exact same clothes and they had beards. So if you're sitting in the euchre seats, good luck figuring out what was going on.
So end of the match. Ambrose look
for the missing patch of hair.
Ambrose hurts his shoulder. I think he fell off the ladder. He was pushed and he caught someone.
What happened was he fell into Swagger, and I thought Swagger did a spine buster, but it was actually like a DDT, right?
Yeah. He grabbed him and he caught him into a DDT, and then he hurt his shoulder supposedly. The WWE ringside officials made him go to the back, and he didn't really fight them. Like, he was kind of arguing, but he kind of just, quickly went to the back, and so you knew, okay, he's coming back out whenever the finish is going to happen. So he did come back. He runs back out. He has a chair, and he's just walloping Rollins with the chair. And he's trying to climb this ladder because Rollins is out. All the other guys are out. And because he's only got one arm, like, I guess his balance is off or whatever's going on. Like, he can't get up this ladder because
that's great selling.
His shoulder is hurting, and Kane comes out. So Kane's music plays, and Kane comes out, and Ambrose knows. He's like, oh man, this guy takes about 20 seconds to walk to the ring. I got about 20 seconds to try and get this stinking briefcase, and so he's struggling. Like, he keeps looking back, and he's just trying to get to the briefcase. He keeps looking back. Can't do it. Kane grabs him. Now, I was fine with it up until here. Like, again, this is a sort of a predictable show. This isn't anything surprising. Except Kane grabs him. like, I don't know if Ambrose slips or maybe Kane missed him, but they missed, like, the first chokeslam attempt.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And then he grabs him, and he puts him in the weakest-looking chokeslam. Like, Ambrose barely gets off the ground. And we're talking...
You mean a tombstone?
No, the first one was a chokeslam. He got him with the chokeslam and then tombstone. So Ambrose has fallen off ladders. He's taken these crazy bumps in this match. And a tombstone that was fit for the Big Show, like, that takes him out. And then Kane picks him up, puts him...
No, that was a tombstone fit for Linda McMahon.
Yeah, no, Kane then picks him up, gives him the softest landing tombstone you'll ever
Linda,
see.
Dude.
You'll ever see, and Ambrose is out, and then Kane sort of watches Rollins' back while he goes up, and he grabs the briefcase, and he wins the Money in the Bank. And Triple H and Stephanie come out, and they raise Rollins' hands in victory. And the thing that I'm most happy about this is that Rollins is actually taller than Stephanie McMahon, because whenever she's taller than these dudes and she wears those large, tall heels, it really bothers me. But he's taller than her, so I'm okay with it.
Well, what I also liked, too, was the fact that now the angle makes sense. See, now it all makes sense. He turned on the Shield, and this is kind of the joke that I made when it first happened, how he better have a damn good explanation. It makes sense now. He turned on the Shield, got with the Authority because he wanted to be a single star, and now the Authority has sent Kane to be his Chewbacca to his Han Solo, and now he got the briefcase, right? Which is, again, we talked about it, the best way to become a top guy and a main eventer in this company in the modern era is to have that briefcase. So the turn makes sense now. Now it's like, okay, I get why he turned on the Shield, and it was a smart move. It was a smart move if you look at it from his point of view, and that's what I like about good wrestling. I talk about the bad, but there is some good here. I also like the fact that now you set up Ambrose you set up two matches. You got Ambrose and Seth at the next pay-per-view, and then you've got Ambrose and Kane at the following pay-per-view, if that's where they're going, in some kind of gimmick match. Because Ambrose, the thing about Ambrose, Jon Moxley, is he's a really good hardcore wrestler. He made his name in Combat Zone Wrestling, so we haven't really seen that other than a few of the Shield matches. So I think a one-on-one match with Kane with, no disqualification or whatever gimmick, maybe even the Buried Alive gimmick, that's going to get him over, dude.
So, you're good, I guess I wouldn't call you a friend of his, but someone who I'm sure you follow on message boards and stuff, David Bixenspan.
Who?
Bix.
Oh, okay, kind of.
Okay, so he made a comment that I was not sure about. I wanted to ask you what this meant.
Yeah, I don't know him that well, otherwise I'd know what you were talking about. So I don't know where you got that from, but he's cool. How about that? He's cool, but I don't know him. But
I mean, he's someone who we all sort of pay attention to when he posts on message boards or whatever. So he says this is about, let's see.
He's Alan boy, really.
It was about Ambrose, and he says he asked a question that I was not. I thought maybe you would know what this meant. So he said, "What is it with Dean Ambrose is a titty master?" Do you know the story?
Oh, that was the story that he told. I think he told that on the Colt Cabana story. Yeah. No, sort of. Okay, I vaguely remember this, but basically, Alan's the guy to ask about this because he remembers all this shit. But there's a sign. There was a sign at a wrestling show, a WWE show that made television that said, "Dean Ambrose is a titty master." That's what he's referring to. In fact, I believe if you Google it, you might be able to find this picture. But some fan made a sign that says Dean Ambrose, the Titty Master. And I remember, I could have sworn it was the Colt show, or maybe I just made it up in my own head. But I remember Moxley was like, "Oh, I guess I am." He didn't really it didn't really make much sense, but that's what he's referring to, that there was I mean, the funny thing about it is that the sign, it was during one of the, when they were coming down to the ring, right, when he was with the Shield, and one of the fans, like, right next to when he was coming down, held up the sign that said, Dean Ambrose, the Titty Master, and I don't really know if that's an inside joke or what, but that's what he's talking about.
I guess he also wrote it on his tape. His taped his hands, and he wrote "titty" down the side of his knuckles that someone had a screenshot cap of in a match not too long ago too.
Well, he's playing with Renee Young's titties allegedly, so at least he's got that going for himself. Lovely young lady.
Ooh, doggy. Okay, so we're gonna go through these next three matches fairly quickly. Nothing to write home about, though. One of them was okay. Rybaxel versus Goldust and Stardust. Now,
what's up with Curtis Axel's tits, bro? Speaking of titty master, I mean, that was distracting, man. Those things were jiggling, and I don't know what's going on there.
So they decided that this match they were going to take it down a notch because obviously the Money in the Bank match was 4.5 star quality. Just
I didn't think it was 4.5 star. Just real quick, it wasn't that good of a Money in the Bank, in my opinion. Wasn't that good of a Money in the Bank. There were a couple of brutal spots, but to me, it's like on the lower tier of great Money in the Bank matches. But that's my opinion. Go ahead.
No, I really liked it. I thought I'm not saying it was the best match in the world, but for what I harken back to Adam Copeland and him always talking about these these ladder match shows and how they just took years off of his wrestling career, and that's what I was thinking of when I saw some of these bumps. I was like, you guys are nuts.
And I will say this now, one quick last note here. Okay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but in my opinion, there's 2 ladder match shows now because it's not just this one, also TLC. So you've got 2 ladder match shows a year. I think they need to really slow down with this ladder match shit. Not because okay. One reason is obviously the welfare of the workers. I do think that. And of course, not everybody does a TLC on the TLC pay-per-view, but there's at least 1 or 2 ladder matches. Again, I don't really. It's not so much the welfare of the wrestlers, even though that is important. I think I've noticed this now. These ladder matches are kind of getting a little repetitive, in my opinion, especially when we get to the main event. We'll talk about it. And I think they need to give it a break. I think the gimmick needs a break because it's like there's only so many times you can hook the ladder in the middle, drop a guy on his back. I think it needs to take about 1 or 2 years off of doing the ladder stuff. In my opinion, they won't do it, but I think they need to.
I completely agree with you. It's too much. There's, the TLC pay-per-view is not necessary anymore. I don't think. We, in order to make this special, and I think this is the more interesting show of the two. Do away with the TLC show. We don't need it.
Yeah, I don't think we need it either.
Okay, so the rest of this match, like I said, this was the take down the crowd match. They worked a really slow match. It was all obviously all about Stardust. I think the gimmick is cool. I don't know if Cody is, I don't know if he's in Goldust mode quite yet, but he looks to be having a lot of fun. He has some fun spots. He's got some new moves also, which I like a lot, by the way. I was thinking about Ryback being on this show and thinking wow, it was only 2 years ago when not even 2 years ago when he and Punk had a match that that was did a pretty good decent buy rate where he looked kind of like he was the next sort of up and coming guy, and now he's in just a middle of the road pay-per-view tag match.
Prelim guy, as Dave Meltzer would say. Remember, Dave never says jobber; it's always prelim guy.
And there wasn't really much to this match. Goldust was only in there to sell, and Stardust was only in there to get over on the other guys, and he won with a roll up. And I actually wanted to see the finisher that he does off the top rope. What do they call it? The diamond.
That kick he does, you mean?
No, not the beautiful disaster, but the flip thing off the top rope that he does now.
I have no idea what the name of that move is.
Diamond Dog or Diamond?
Oh, the Dudley Dog. It used to be Spike Dudley's move. Yeah, it actually was called the Acid Drop originally, because his name was Little Spike Dudley, LSD. So that was the gimmick, but yeah. No, I like it, man. I like the fact they're teaming up again. Now, I think this time they should let them be together for another year and then figure out what they want to do, and maybe blow it off with the the winner gets the gimmick or whatever. I don't know.
So you dig this as like a foray for Cody Rhodes to do something else, and they can kind of continue this.
I was hoping that they would have the Wyatts win the tag belt, and then have Stardust and Goldust chase. And you know what? They might still do that. And I think you can get probably 4 or 5 months of Wyatt versus Stardust Goldust matches in different stipulations and have it be fresh. Because that to me, the way those guys work, like, I just can see the chemistry. Like, in my head, I could picture the entire match, and that's a good thing. And that's, to me, the feud of, like, the rest of the year, if you ask me. Those guys against the Wyatts, who is more bizarre, who is better at the mind games, and then you do different stipulations, fucking bring back the dog collars. I mean, it's an exciting tag team idea that they probably will not do.
So Rusev and Big E is now doing the preacher thing, which is, to me, I think he may have a couple months ago watched Coming to America and watched the beauty pageant scene where Arsenio Hall does the preacher thing before Sexual Chocolate comes on and sings, because I don't know otherwise why he would be doing this now.
Rocky
this
IV?
Goofy.
He plays the role of Apollo?
No, but Apollo, did Apollo become like a preacher? Like, did he start preaching before his matches and talking like a preacher?
No, but I mean, I always thought that was the idea with the whole coming out with the American flag. See, it sucks because your boy Xavier Woods used to be Austin Creed, Consequences Creed, and he probably still has it in his closet. He's got the Apollo Creed outfit from Rocky IV, so they could have. Man, I hate wrestling when they don't capitalize on obvious cool things, bro. They could have had this guy, dude. James Brown is no longer with us, so we're not going to see James Brown, but they could have done the whole thing with Rusev and fucking Consequences Creed, and if he dies, he dies. But you don't want to say die. If he goes to the hospital, it goes to the hospital, or something, you know what I mean? And then bring back that guy. Anything he hits, he destroys. You know, they could do so much awesome stuff, and it's never going to be as cool as it is in my own mind. And unlike these mouth breathers, I have good ideas.
Well, you know, the problem with Consequences Creed is, compared to the great Carl Weathers, he's probably about 5 inches shorter and about 30 pounds lighter than Carl in his heyday.
And he's not alpha. And let me tell you something about Carl Weathers. Every movie I've seen him in, Rocky, Predator, that guy oozes manliness in everything. So you're right.
Action Jackson.
Dude, he's an animal, bro. I ain't got time to bleed. Well, that wasn't him. That was Jesse. That's a movie, bro. Predator is nothing but alpha males top to bottom, man. When I watch that movie, I grow 6 inches on my beard, and I want to go have sex with 100 women. That's a manly movie right there.
Okay.
I might watch it after the show.
So this match was
I liked it.
I liked it too. It was different than the match from last month because Big E got a lot more, and he got a lot more offense in, and he hit that spear through the ropes.
The separated shoulder spear.
Oh my God, dude! I thought Rusev died when he hit the.
He didn't learn from Wade Barrett, man.
Oh my God! His head bounced back. His mouth started bleeding. Like, that was brutal.
That spot should be done twice a year, and he does it every match.
I know, God. That scares me. 2 guys like that big, probably legitimately, 280, 300 plus, hitting the mat at or hitting the outside at that type of speed and velocity, Jesus.
And one of these days, someone's going to move out of the way, and Big E's going to take a nasty fall. Look, the thing is, though, that I loved it because, yeah, he got more offense, and I liked it because this is good pro wrestling because, we talk about the bad and the good. That's the thing about wrestling, man. There's good and there's bad. And I liked how in this match, Big E lost, but he looked anything but weak. And that's the right way to do these things. And it helps get Rusev even more over because he was challenged and he overcame the challenge. Heel or babyface, it works. And all I'm going to say is this. When he put him in the fucking the camel clutch or the invader or whatever he calls it, the vibrator.
Accolade, I don't know, whatever. Or something.
Whatever, yeah. He puts him in the move and then Big E's fighting out of it. I was starting to mark out, dude. I was like, is he going to get out of it? Because to me, that would have been awesome if he got out of it, and he almost did. But then Rusev yanks, bro. I was brutal, dude. He pulls back. It wasn't quite a Jack Evans 90-degree angle, but he pulls back on this man, and I was frightened. Obviously, I know better. Big E's okay. But if you looked at it, and this is the good, again, the bad and the good. I hate Kevin Dunn, but nobody's as good as him when it comes to camera angles. The camera angle they had on this looked like he snapped his spine, and that's the right way to do it.
He pulled on him so hard that I was sure that Big E was going to, tear pec, but, he probably just got a really good stretch. But, yeah, very impressive. I love Rusev. That big sidekick that he throws is I like that better than Reigns' Superman punch. It just comes out of nowhere. It's so quick. He's so athletic. I know there's limitations with this gimmick because he's not speaking. They won't push him like they did Yokozuna because they don't need that kind of guy. John Cena may beat him at SummerSlam. But still, I love this guy. I enjoy, I can do without all the Putin stuff and Lana, talking all the time. Lana should just look pretty and be Brigitte Nielsen. But love Rusev.
Well, you can't do both. You can't look pretty and be Brigitte Nielsen.
Well, you can from Rocky IV. You can't from The Surreal Life. Because hey, Stallone's not banging ugly girls, man.
Well, hopefully they'll be smart and put a clock around Consequences Creed's neck if they're not going to make him into Apollo Creed. I will say this, though. What do you think about, down the road, maybe next year, babyface Brock against Rusev on pay-per-view?
I think Brock would actually make Rusev look a little small, but if they.
But if he's a babyface, that's okay.
Yeah, no. I think Rusev would look less impressive just again, near Brock Lesnar. I'd love to see Rusev if they let Jack Swagger kind of be Jack Swagger, the good Jack Swagger. I think they could have a really athletic, hard hitting match. Brock is great, but that's sort of down the line. I'm just thinking, who else other than Big E? What other big guys can
Mark Henry. See, I always thought that the idea behind Rusev beating up black guys, and that is the idea, was that it was going to build to a SummerSlam match of Mark Henry, and maybe that is what they're going to do.
Yeah, I'd be totally fine with that. That would be fun.
Because if you notice, the black guys are getting bigger. It's kind of like a freaking video game here. I hate to say it, but each guy he faces is a little bit bigger, and Brock's the biggest black guy they got. So unless they sign Bob Sapp or whatever, that's going to be it right there.
All right, so final match.
Blaster Lashley.
Blaster Lashley.
Oh boy, the softest. Never mind.
So we had Brie Bella backstage with her sister. Stephanie spots her, wants her out.
Wait. One thing.
Yep.
Just real quick. I don't like silicone breasts. I like natural breasts. And I've always had an issue with silicone. But I don't think I've ever seen a woman, other than maybe Trish, rock the silicone tits as nice as Nikki Bella. She looked delicious. And for once, I wanted to be John Cena. Then again, who wouldn't want to be John Cena, really? But, yeah, I was mesmerized.
One thing, I think that the Bellas have taken advantage of that Total Divas show better than anybody because, we were watching WrestleMania 26, and so I was watching a lot of pay-per-views up until then, and they were just like nameless, faceless, Mexican chicks, and now they actually have star presence. They have,
I think they're Puerto Rican, but
whatever, dark brown girls, but.
Okay.
Yeah, like they there's something about them now that that show's definitely helped them. And
they're sexy. Is that what you're saying? They're sexier now?
No, I've always found them attractive, but I think they just have presence. Like they understand a little bit more, and maybe it's what they've learned from television. But they have presence. They're composed. They feel like they're important. So whatever it is, like I think it's been good for them. But so Brie and Nikki are in the back, and Stephanie, notices Brie, who she had fired, but before she had fired her, Brie had quit, and Brie had slapped Stephanie in the face, and Stephanie.
She's like, "Wait a minute, your tits aren't big. You're not Nikki."
And Brie did get one over on Stephanie again, and that was, she said she was watching her favorite YouTube video, which was the video of Stephanie getting pushed into the pudding by Vicky Guerrero.
By the way, I love how her cell phone is somehow connected to the satellites at Titan Tower, so right when she hit the button, we saw the video. Wasn't that cool?
I was hoping for the Wayne's World thing where Wayne and Garth would go and then it would kind of go like it would change the time. I was hoping for that, but we didn't get that.
That would have been too wacky for me to now, I will say one last thing about their boobs. I'm sorry, it's just mesmerizing. We saw Brie Bella's nipple. I know you still got it as the background on your iPhone. We need to see Nikki Bella's at some point. That's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, one more thing. When Steph came out with Hunter, she had humongously heaving tits. But we all know that the queen of heaving titties in wrestling is Rebecca Michaels. That she is the queen. But that's all I'm going to say about tits. Go ahead.
And
Curtis Axel's tits too. But go ahead.
you know that was like one of the most random, highest. I don't know. I guess from from a statistic standpoint, when I posted the Raw recap and I linked to the blog that had the video of Brie's nipple showing, we got so many hits into that page.
Are you sure it wasn't just you hitting refresh over and over again?
No, I mean, Brie is a small girl, so she is mostly nipple, but, people love to see celebrities, unclothed or accidentally unclothed or whatever. So we got a lot of hits. So Layla, Summer Rae, nothing to this match. Fandango is the referee. To talk about the bathroom break match. I guess Layla, what did Layla kick her and she pinned her, something like that.
I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest with you. Here's the thing about this match. Here's what's funny. In another era, in a different era, I think this match could have really had a lot of heat. Because this, people eat this stuff up. You know what I mean? The whole love triangle thing. It's worked. In wrestling, we've had mixed results, but when it's worked, it's really worked. I mean, the best example would be Chris Jericho and Trish, right? The whole, the love triangle thing. I think, again, the different era, this would have been one of the highlights of the show. It would have been one of the fun segments that would have been fun to watch. But because nobody here is over and nobody gives a shit, it just became the Total Divas match of the night.
So, do you think it works better though when it's two guys going after one girl rather than the other way around, though, right?
I think so, and it's also more realistic in a way. But At the same time, I do think that even though Fandango is not over and is a prelim guy, I think that having two girls chase him might actually get him a little bit more popularity. Not a lot more, but especially if he winds up banging both of them, which I think he will. I think that's going to really get him over, especially if he does the reverse Donna, where he bangs them both and then says peace out to both of them. That's what's really going to get. Oh man, I see stars right now.
You mean you mean Kelly Taylor?
Yeah, whatever. Dude, I'm telling you, wouldn't that be awesome? He bangs both of them, and then he's like, I don't really want either one of them. Come on, man. That's realistic too, by the way.
I choose me.
I choose me. And if he says that line needs to be used in wrestling at one point or another, bro. It hasn't been used yet. He needs to say it. I choose me. Oh man, what a pop that would get, especially in the right city.
So Layla pins Summer Rae. She and Fandango start making out. Summer Rae's crying, and I think as a male who sort of feels, I feel like I play a somewhat feminist role sometimes.
Oh, do you?
I'm a little bothered with this because if Fandango was a main eventer, maybe it would mean something more to me. Like if Fandango was The Rock, I think you could get away with it. But
that's what I was thinking too, man. The Rock, especially The Rock in '98.
Because he loses on TV, he doesn't win. So you basically these girls are going after a loser,
yes, that's my point.
Which makes them a loser. So I don't know. I guess that's why it's the bathroom match of all of them. So,
but you know what? I don't give a damn if she's 45, bro. Layla. I mean, she's my number one right now in the company.
She's great. I think she might be 1 year younger than me, so I think she's 37.
People keep making jokes she's in her 40s or whatever. Look, I don't care if she was 80, bro. She is pretty damn sexy. She's my number one, for real. She is my hottest girl in the company right now.
80, like May Not So Young.
Oh, God.
All right, so main event time. This Money in the Bank match, Sheamus versus Bray versus Alberto Del Rio versus Cesaro versus Cena versus Orton versus Roman Reigns versus Kane. Yes, Kane came out last. So this was a lot different, much slower. At least, right until the last 5 minutes, this is one of the slower moving ladder matches you'll ever see. Very few high spots. Orton gets hit right on the top of the head, hard way, busted open. Blood, was kind of. I was wondering if they were going to not let him back in the match, but
he wasn't like gushing. That was interesting. You could tell it was hard way because he wasn't gushing blood like a blade job. It was a little tiny bit. He wiped it off, no big deal. But then as the match progressed, it got worse. But you know what? I got to be honest with you. I'm not a blood and guts guy, but I think the blood on his face added to the match. I think this is one of those cases where red does equal green, and possibly with the storyline he has going on with Roman, he could use that as an example. Like, he could actually blame the Superman punch as being the reason or whatever, and then they could have that feud go. So I liked it, believe it or not. I think it helped. If
they didn't show the replay of him getting conked in the head with the ladder, then you could say it was like a Superman punch or something.
Who hit him with the ladder, though? Do you remember?
I think the ladder just got pushed. Like it was falling, and he just didn't get out of the way.
Well, I'm sure they'll find a way to blame Roman. Maybe Roman put something in his drink to make him bleed more.
and Cena, when he hits Randy Orton with the FU or the attitude adjustment, Randy Orton left him with a nice bloody present on his abdomen. So even when Cena was holding up the titles, the blood was still on his stomach.
I saw that. Yeah, it was weird.
So, so there was one thing that really bothered me in this match, and it's it's just sort of. I'm a stickler for it. You're watching these things. We watch a million of them, and sometimes they screw up just on stuff. So they pull out this really tall ladder,
the Jeff Hardy ladder,
and the guys are so big in this match. Like, most of these guys are 6'2 plus. I think everybody might be 6'2 plus in this match. So they only need to get halfway up this ladder and they can actually reach the belts. So as they're doing the climb spots, when both guys are climbing and they're sort of going rung by rung, or as Rock would say, rung by damn rung by damn rung.
Yeah, they were going a little too slow. Is that what it was?
No,
that
not
bugged me too.
Well, that always bugs me. But as they were getting to the top of this ladder, the belts were sitting on the top of the ladder. Like they were like. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was like Del Rio and Sheamus or something. But they were throwing punches at each other, and they actually had to move the belts out of the way because
you're talking about Cesaro and Sheamus.
Okay, that's what it was.
Awesome. That was a cool spot, though.
But they had to move the belts out of the way because they were so low that they could have just simply grabbed them. But instead, they had to punch each other instead of grab the stupid belts. So I thought that ladder was, not. They went to that ladder not necessary. It made it look like it was not that high, and it also made it look dumb because they're punching each other instead of just grabbing the ladder. And people were saying that, oh, are they going to split the titles again? And I was saying, no, they're not going to split the titles again.
That's
That'd be
a horrible
really dumb.
idea, dude.
And so they're like, oh, but what if one title falls off and the other one doesn't? And what are they going to do? Well, they had both titles like glued on to like what you called a hanger, which it really was. It was like a hanger. It's like a clothes hanger, but instead of like the half circle to hang your clothes, it was a full circle, and they had like a little device at the top where you latched it on. Like think of where you go to the gym and like you latch your the bar onto something.
The ropes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the pulley thing, and so they latched it on. So nothing was falling off of that. You actually had to grab the whole hanger in order to take both titles. You didn't actually pull down the actual belts. So. That was a big mistake for me, but I'd say the last 5 minutes was pretty decent, but it was so choreographed.
Now, I will say this. All right, first of all, Daniel Bryan should have been out before this match. I think that would have made sense. Maybe even had him do commentary for this. I think it would have made sense. Maybe even do a stare down after the show. Again, we don't know when he's coming back, but you still kind of want to let people know that he is going to come back, right? That's number one. Number two, the thing that bugged me about the match, and this really bugged me, two things. One, why is Bray Wyatt doing that stupid exorcist thing?
No reason whatsoever. No reason.
They were fighting around him, and he does the move, and I'm like, why is he doing this now? And then the other thing was, there was a spot near the end where everybody got to do their shit. Everybody got their shit in, like the indies. So you had Sheamus doing his little move, you had Randy Orton doing his little segment of moves, and the next guy would come in, I hated that because, for two reasons. One, every time that a guy would knock out all the guys with their move, rather than climb up the ladder and, be champion, they would always take an extra few seconds to pose. Each and every one of them did that. Sheamus is like doing the crowd, yeah. Why don't you go up there and get the belt? Again, the believability factor was not good. The other thing I hated was, it's so not believable, not just because of that, but because, okay, one guy comes in, does all his finishers, next guy comes in, does all his finishers. It was, done over and over. It was done 5 times in a row. And to me, it's like, now I'm seeing a choreographed wrestling match. I'm not seeing a fight.
Yep.
I'm seeing a choreographed wrestling match. It wasn't a good match, dude. Point blank. I'm just to say it. This is not a good match to me. To me, I'm never going to watch the match again as long as I live. I'm never watching this match again.
I agree with you, though I thought the match told a story that if they explain it on Monday, I think it'll be okay. Now, okay, let's go through the spots that you and I were just talking about, the heavy choreographed spots. So, Reigns gets to clean house on everybody except for Cena, and then
that was kind of cool.
And then he and Cena face off in the middle of the ring. But Orton kind of comes in and he gets the path cleared for him. Bray stops him.
And one more thing, I'm sorry, but that Cena Reigns thing, that's another example of them doing the classic Hogan Warrior, Austin Rock, where they have the two baby faces. Look, they've done it so many times, bro. Then we start throwing punches, bro. Triple H and Cena did it. Rock and Cena did it, I think, a couple times. It's just, that's just WWE stuff, though. Like, I'm okay with it. It's just very predictable.
Yeah, but they'll replay that spot for when they do actually have a match, and it'll be meaningful for that time. So Bray Wyatt stops Randy Orton, and Bray gets a huge pop, and he acts very much like a babyface at this point.
Very much.
Del Rio actually stops Bray. Then Sheamus stops Del Rio. Cesaro grabs Sheamus off the ladder, and he launches Sheamus into that uppercut. Orton stops Cesaro and launches Cesaro into the single most perfect RKO you could ever see, because Cesaro was laying perfectly horizontal. Like, how did he get so horizontal so quickly? That dude, just amazing. Just the way he could control his body, it was pretty awesome. And he gets hit with the RKO. Then Reigns catches Orton. Orton's going up the ladder. Kane's protecting him. And Cena, out of nowhere, like, the guy took bump after bump and, like, laid low and was hanging outside. This was almost like Bobby the Brain Heenan winning a battle royal. And hits the FU on Kane, who's protecting Orton, and then he hits one on Orton, and that's where you get the bloody abdomen, the bloody abs for John Cena's from Orton's head. Climbs up the belt to grab the belts and win. And actually, while the internet community, probably all groaned at the same time, the fans there kind of popped for it pretty big, and maybe they were going to pop for whoever was going to win, but. They seem to be okay with it. It was in John Cena's hometown, but usually, he gets booed everywhere, or he gets a mixed reaction everywhere, so they liked it. I will not go all the way with you and say that it was not a good match. I think if they continue building, I think it is the right match for the right time, and I would rather them have not tried to follow that crazy spot fest that we saw earlier. I think all the guys, the main guys they need to protect, Roman, Bray, all those guys are fine. They did, they weren't really hurt from this match. Even Del Rio looked strong in certain spots, so I thought it was good for him. Whenever he hits that super kick when the guy's kind of on his knees, I always pop for that move. But yeah, I thought it was fine. Now, it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't dramatic. It was very predictable, like we said. And so, is it a 2 3/4 3-star match? I could roll with that, but it's nothing. Nothing that you're going to write home about. It's nothing. They may try to sell the network off of it, but this is not the match that you're going to watch back. You're going to watch back the earlier Money in the Bank. You're going to watch the Usos match. You're going to watch Rusev. So that unless you're a big Cena fan, or unless you want to see Roman Reigns kind of whip everybody and get to Cena, there's really not a lot to write home about in this one. But John Cena wins, and maybe we see who do you think he faces at Battleground?
Bray Wyatt. I think they have their last match on there. That's what I think. But maybe they'll do him as Cesaro. Maybe they'll do a multi-man. I wanted to just say one thing about something you said. Another reason why this match was not that good, why I'm knocking points off of it, is because there were a lot of repeat spots here from last year, like the RKO spot, which was cool looking when he swept the leg and then hit the RKO as Cesaro was coming down, Cesaro doing the uppercut. Those are repeat spots from last year. And again, I'm not one of those sticklers for, oh my God, they shouldn't be doing the same thing over again. That's not what my point is, but I think that a spot like that is it's been too soon, I think. If you wait 3 or 4 years, okay, but just last year, I just wasn't entertained by this. I really wasn't, and that's what it comes down to. It's not that I wasn't entertained, it's just that it was just there. And there were guys in this match that I really liked. really. I pretty much like all these guys, to be honest, but it just didn't do it for me, man. It just was. And this is another example of, again, why they got to retire this gimmick for a little while, because you're going to have these repeat spots. You're going to have these forgettable matches. It's just think back. There was an era when the Hell in a Cell, the Elimination Chamber, and the Money in the Bank were all special. You could name every Elimination Chamber, every Hell in a Cell, and every Money in the Bank if you were a hardcore fan. Now, even somebody like myself who is hardcore, it's kind of become like the Intercontinental title, where you could name every IC champion until like 99, and everything goes crazy. Well, because they've done 2 Elimination Chambers a year, not every year, but most of the time, 2 Money in the Banks, a couple TLCs, you forget things, and everything becomes kind of the same. It loses its speciality. It loses its scarcity. So whereas everybody might remember the Chamber with RVD breaking Triple H's throat, or Goldberg killing everybody, right? Everybody remembers that, but do you really remember Elimination Chamber 2012? Do you remember anything on that show? Do you remember Money in the Bank 2010? Nobody remembers it anymore, and it's losing its speciality doing it so much. But people knew that when they first started the damn gimmick pay-per-view. So it's a prophecy that has come to fruition.
I do not disagree with you there at all. Okay, so do you think it makes sense for Cena Cesaro to lead to Cena Lesnar at SummerSlam?
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
Now
he takes out Cesaro, and then Paul Heyman says, well, okay, here's what you get for taking out Cesaro.
Now, let's presume that they do the right thing, and Lesnar beats Cena, and he is the new champion. He's only scheduled, as far as I know, for that pay-per-view and September pay-per-view. How do you get the belt off of him if that is what they want to do? Like, don't you want Lesnar to stay strong until WrestleMania?
Well, you and I talked about this privately, but nobody has access to our private conversation, so I'll just repeat what I told you before, because we talked about this already. If the idea is to give Lesnar the World Championship at SummerSlam, he better be sticking around for the rest of the year. And I'll tell you why. Number one, if he loses the belt a month later, it's probably the stupidest thing they've done since he lost the first night he came in, because you can't give this guy a 1-month joke title reign like that and then have him lose the next month. I don't care if it's to Reigns. I don't care if it's to Cesaro. I don't care if it's to Daniel Bryan. You cannot have the man who broke the streak lose on a B pay-per-view after a 1-month title reign. You can't do it, okay? It's stupid. It kills the belt. It kills the guy. It's stupid, all right? Number two, some people have said, well, what if he wins the belt and then just leaves with it till January? Okay, that kind of makes more sense because, as you know, in the 80s and 90s, the early 90s, the champion was not on television all the time. He didn't have to defend it all the time. A 30-day rule has been gone forever, right? So you could do that. The problem is that they just vacated the belt off of Daniel Bryan, and that's the same idea because they were afraid of not having a champion. They didn't do the interim title idea, which would have been perfect if Brock won the belt, because I think if Brock wins the belt and leaves, you do the interim champion, and then you do the unification at the Royal Rumble. It's easy, dude. It's easy. But they didn't want to do it. They stripped Daniel Bryan. They put the belt up. So if Brock's not going to be around for the rest of the year, giving him, or at least once a month, giving him the title, having him lose it in a month is stupid. So if you ask me, he should be wrestling these matches. He should be wrestling them non-title matches. And you're right. Build up to he wins the title at the Rumble. You book him all throughout the build up to WrestleMania, and he drops it at WrestleMania. That's the right way to do it, because then at least you've got the Rumble to WrestleMania build, which is going to be 3.5 months, and it's the time when the most eyeballs are going to be on the product, as opposed to doing it from August to September, which is like September. First of all, football season starting, fall TV is starting. Your eyeballs are not going to be on the product as much as they would be during January to April, so why don't you just wait? That's my 2 cents on it. No, he should not be champion unless he's going to hold it for the rest of the year, and if he does, then you're making yourself look stupid because you just took it off of Daniel Bryan for that very reason.
I definitely agree. And so is there a way to make this match not for the title? So
Cena loses it to here's the idea. Easy. He wrestles Cesaro next month. He beats Cesaro. Heyman gets in the ring. They do a little thing where he grabs Heyman by the throat. Out comes Brock. F5. Seth Rollins cashes in. Boom, you've got your match made. Easy. It's not that hard.
And now I agree with that. But then if our goal is to get Lesnar the title at Royal Rumble for WrestleMania so that he could, so that he takes all of that momentum from the Undertaker win and gives it to, I'm assuming, Roman Reigns, let's say, for WrestleMania. Now, how do you get that title from Seth to Brock? Does it go from Seth to Bryan to Brock? But that's a short amount of time for someone like Seth to get his first title run, and it's kind of short,
Well, it's okay for Seth. It's just not okay for Brock, because the difference is that Seth is still on his way up. He's okay. Brock is already on top. Brock took the streak, right? You have to protect Brock more than Seth at this point. Not to mention that Brock is a lot more expensive. You have to be wiser with your money. So, actually, that's the perfect idea. Seth takes the belt from Cena. If Bryan is available, think about this as a fucking SummerSlam card, bro. This could be the greatest pay-per-view of all time. Point blank. The greatest show of all time if you book it like this. Roman Triple H. Seth versus Daniel Bryan for the title. They go 30 minutes. They do spot for spot the same fucking match they did in Ring of Honor that got 4 3/4 stars in the Observer in that one pay-per-view nobody remembers. Don't remember the pay-per-view, but they had an amazing match. Bryan takes the belt back from him in a great freaking match, and then you do Cena Brock in the bloody fucking match where Brock gets his win back. That's a great freaking card, bro. Jesus. And then you can do
Roman Reigns and Triple H?
Roman Reigns. That's what I said. Look at this card. Kane versus Dean Ambrose, buried alive. Right there. Boom. Roman Reigns versus Triple H. Whatever stip you want. Cena versus Brock. Seth versus Bryan. That's 4 main event matches, dude. Any one of those could be a main event. Any one of them. Maybe not Ambrose Kane, but it's still a hot feud. And then you've also got the other stuff like Cesaro, Sheamus, or Orton versus whoever. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of stuff they can do. But with those 4 matches on top, that's a freaking amazing card. That's like a greatest card ever. But think about it. Look who's in there. This is like, and again, you've also got the Shield guys all in 3 different main event matches and doing 3 different things. So, dude, man, it's not going to happen, but that'd be awesome. No, don't give the belt to Brock for a month. People are saying that, Brock should lose to Daniel Bryan. I mean, you're going to have him lose to Daniel Bryan at Night of Champions, bro. Here's the bottom line. If Brock Lesnar took the streak, Brock Lesnar should not be losing a match unless it's at WrestleMania, point blank. I don't give a fuck what you do, interim title, world title, fucking cruiserweight title. He should not be pinned 1, 2, 3 unless it's at WrestleMania, and that's it. Otherwise, you are retarded. That's it. That's it. There's no argument there.
I think we pretty much agree on what they can do now. The problem is I'm sure with Bryan as champ and then them having to strip him, that probably halted some of the things that they did want to do. And so the wild card is at what point is Bryan going to be ready to come back? And so I think if they know when that can happen, then they can sort of plan this thing. But until then, it's kind of up in the air. as far as what they're going to do. But I do.
Well, you could have Bryan beat Seth at like Survivor Series. I mean, you don't have to do that at SummerSlam, but I like the idea of Bryan beating Seth. In fact, you could even do this. Bryan beats Seth because Roman Reigns cost Seth or whatever, and then you finally blow that feud off at the Rumble or at TLC or whatever you want, you know. In fact, I think it would be cool if at TLC they do Roman versus Seth in like a TLC match, and then that way you're playing off of the fact that that group had their first match at TLC 2 years ago. So it's kind of like, you know, a 2-year build in a way. You know, 2-year, we started here, we're going to end it here, you know. And then Bryan gets the belt back. He will be back by the end of the year. Then Brock gets his title match at the Rumble. Brock defeats Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble. And then at WrestleMania, you do Brock against your choice, Cesaro or Roman Reigns. Whichever guy is closer at that time, that's what you do. And you know what? Maybe you wait and do Bryan and Brock at WrestleMania also. You could do that as well. But all I know is if this fucking guy who took the streak loses at any time that's not WrestleMania, I'm not going to quit watching wrestling, but it's just going to infuriate me. I don't care anymore, but I do because it's so stupid. It's the stupidest thing. When we do 30 for 30 WrestleMania 27, you're going to hear, and this is a promise because Draven's already told me, you're going to hear Draven rant about what they did to Alberto Del Rio in 2011. This, to me, is even stupider.
No, I'm in. I agree. We don't disagree on this part of it. So, all right. So we're done. We went long as usual, but that was fine because I think we talked about a lot of the important things on this show and the possibility of what could happen next. So a couple of tidbits of information. So WrestleMania 30 for 30, about WrestleMania 26, where both Draven and I were live, will actually be up Monday, and I will actually get this show up Sunday evening, Monday morning. So this show will be up before that show, but
it's up now. WrestleMania 26 is up right now on Superfriends Universe.
On Superfriends Universe, so I will put it on my site on Monday, so it'll be on my site after this show is up.
I see.
And then we also have a UFC 175 preview that Alex Goff and myself will record Wednesday night. So that will be up Thursday, and that is sort of a precursor to Alex and I being in Vegas. We're going to go to that show.
I'm surprised he's not boycotting the show.
Who, Alex?
Yeah. He hates the Fertitas, damn it.
And then I thought you were going to say because he thinks of Ioli's article as propaganda, which I'm sure we're going to talk about because that is
oh, man, that'd be a good one then.
He loves talking about that.
I don't think it's propaganda. I really don't. But I do agree with that guy from Deadspin, bro. Fuck this shit. I know you say you don't like Deadspin. I agree with you because I've heard a lot of bullshit on there. But, man, is that guy right. He worded it good, if you ask me.
So we'll talk about all of UFC 175. And, unfortunately, as I'm going to be in Vegas, I don't think we're going to be able to record anything about while I'm out there. But, maybe maybe when we're all sort of back home, we can record something, Alex and myself, and maybe we'll get Don Cameron on or something because there's going to be a lot of fun people out in Vegas for that show, UFC 175. Maybe even your boy Ed. Who knows?
Oh, man, I'm sure he'll want to be on. I'd love to be on your show, man, but you got to come on my show, man. My show's the main event, man.
What a dick.
We get 1,000 downloads a week. Didn't you know that?
What a dick, though. That guy has just destroys the UFC. And then...
I know, dude. He's been burying them for months, and he's like, oh, I'm at UFC now. I made fun of him. I thought you hated UFC. I love Ed, man, but you have no credibility, Ed.
I don't really think he's a dick. I think he's a good guy, and he's
a good guy. He has no credibility. How are you going to sit there and insult the UFC and then go to one of their shows and be all marked down and shit? I met Brian Stan in the elevator, bro. You fucking he's buried Brian Stan. I remember that.
Yeah, that was.
Maybe that's what makes
funny.
Ed lovable. I don't know.
So we'll do some stuff hopefully, but the preview for sure that will be up Thursday, and we'll talk about 175, which is probably the most entertaining or the most interesting, and hopefully will be the most entertaining card of the year in a year of uninspiring UFC shows so far. There've been a couple good ones, but in the most part, as far as even shows, that they don't have enough star power to really give you those power shows that they used to be able to. So it's really, you're just looking for, good stuff in between, some of the stuff that you would never see on pay-per-view back in the day. But that is the problem when they are running about a show a week these days. So I really think they're like averages out to a show a week almost.
Yeah, and now it's like, in some weekends it's 2 shows. I just loved, bro. I legit, because here's the thing. No matter how you feel about it, nobody is like Dave Meltzer, bro. Dave Meltzer is a gimmick unto his own. I love how he wrote the recap for that New Zealand show and got through about 4 fights and said, okay, I'm going to sleep now. And
I didn't see that.
You did not see it. I legitimately belly laughed at work because here's this guy, the most respected journalist in wrestling, a respected MMA journalist, right? Legit guy, right? And he literally put at the end of his report, okay, I'm not watching anymore, time for bed. I don't even know if Ed would do that, man. And if they broke him, they could break anybody, man. I don't know anybody who loves MMA enough to watch all those shows.
Do you know that show started at, I want to say it was,
late.
Let's see, was that Friday? I want to say it was like was it 12:30 my time in the evening? So that'd been like 3:30 Eastern, something like that.
Not just that, dude, but here's the big thing. It's not the fact that Dave's not willing to stay up, because Dave has stayed up for New Japan shows. He stayed up for Pride. He stayed up for K1. Dave Meltzer once watched a 12-hour show. He said it himself. The All Japan win. No, it was the K1 show from like 2011 that had like 30 fights on it. I don't know if you remember the show. It started at like 3 a.m. It started at like, I think it was like 2 a.m. in the morning here, and it ended at like 10 a.m. In the morning Eastern, right? He stayed up for that show because that's quality, wacky Japanese MMA. A bunch of geeks with short hair and tattoos coming off of losses, by the way, because James Del Tuna or whatever had lost his last 3 fights. He's a damn geek, right? That's why Dave didn't watch. It's not because he doesn't like MMA. It's because he doesn't like boring MMA, and every man has his breaking point. And he had his, and it validates me because, as you know, I have to have validation from others, and what better validation than from the great Dave Meltzer?
Hey, if you want to validate from Dave, that's fine. But
the man put, I'm done, I'm going to bed. I never thought I would see that.
He should have wrote, I'm done, Gus.
Good job, good effort. I gotta find that for you now. Maybe, you know what? I'm worried though, because I'm worried that he actually went back and finished the show.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he watched it.
Yeah, you're not gonna see that.
I boycotted both shows. I didn't want anything to do with them.
You boycotted?
Yeah, because I'm not. I unsubscribed from Fight Pass. I will resubscribe to Fight Pass when they do that crazy Japan show. I'm excited for that. I do want to see that one. So I will resubscribe around that time, but there's no real reason for me to have Fight Pass right now that the Ultimate Fighter Brazil is done. That was really the only reason why I had it in the first place. So when the Japan UFC Fight Pass show comes back, I will resubscribe. But I'm back in. Hey, I spent my $250 or $300 to go see UFC 175. So it's not that I've boycotted UFC. I just didn't want to bother with 2 terrible shows and feel like I had to watch them and cover them. So,
I mean, people say, like, okay, it's a B show. No. This is like a Q show. You know what I mean? Like, we're forget B and D and E. This is like a X show. Because, like, when your main event is headlined by 2 guys who have lost their last 2 fights, bro, I mean, I'm not going to get into it. That's a show for another era. Everybody knows how I feel about this. Fuck UFC. Unlike Ed, I actually mean it. Fuck UFC. I will be watching Weidman Machida. I will be watching the super big fights. But honestly, bro, I'm jumping on the boxing bandwagon right now. I like boxing more now. I'm like Alex Goff. Boxing's doing it right. I'm going to try to watch more boxing this year because boxing is doing it right.
I don't disagree with that. I'm down with boxing. If I was to let me see if I can explain this. If it was a Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight, head to head, with John Jones versus Anderson Silva.
Oh man, there's no way.
Head to head versus Brock Lesnar and The Rock at WrestleMania. Which one do you watch?
Man, how dare you? Well, Pacquiao's kind of killed now, but then again, so is Silva. Probably the wrestling, dude. Fuck it. I watch the wrestling, honestly. I'm a mark, dude. Fuck it. I'm a mark. I'm always going to be a mark. I'm going to die a mark. It's not that I wouldn't try to watch those. You know what I do, dude? Why am I being stupid? I got a tablet. I got a monitor with a computer with 2 monitors and 2 TVs. I could watch them all at once.
So I would watch the wrestling show, and then when Mayweather and Pacquiao came on, I'd pause the wrestling show, and then I'd watch Mayweather Pacquiao, then I'd finish the wrestling show, then I'd watch the UFC after. So UFC would be third in that list.
That's good. I agree. But that's a crazy story if that did happen. But whatever. I don't know, dude. It's just one of those things where, yeah, I guess you're right. Plus, there's a higher probability that Anderson Silva fight would be boring, because that's kind of a boring fight, really, if you look at the styles. But that's not breakdown. That fight's will probably never happen. So I don't know. All I know is that these Q shows is just a bad idea. I don't know any of these guys. These guys don't even have Wikipedia entries, half of them. Whatever. Let's not even get into it, because you know what I'm thinking, and I'm sure most listeners listening to this who are also UFC fans probably agree. I haven't heard a single person, dude, a single person, with the exception of Kevin Iole and Dana White, who has said that they're cool with this fucking 10,000 shows idea. Not one.
I mean, I know several people who really enjoyed it, and they look forward to it. Like lots of
Ryan Pike. Is it Ryan Pike?
No, our Fred is down. My friend Heidi, they love it. It's their favorite thing. It's their livelihood. So they're down, and I'm down with that. Hey, that's awesome. But
they are the hardcore of the hardcore. Then, though, you know what they are? They are the Ring of Honor fans, but in MMA.
I would say they're of a little bit higher class than the Ring of Honor
absolutely.
Fans. Okay, so we're gonna go right now, but there's one thing that I forgot to say, which is if we do the Wyatt's match against Goldust and Stardust, I have an idea on how Bray can be involved.
Oh man!
You bring in Fat
Don't
Dust.
tickle my dick.
You bring in Fat Dust. You bring in the American Dream dressed up as a Gold Dust character. There you go.
If they do that, and you make me choose between those 3 fights and that, take a wild guess what I'm thinking, because. First of all, they dick teased us last year during the Shield versus Rhodes family feud, because we thought we were going to see Big Dust in there throwing the elbow, and we didn't see it. We saw the elbow, but we didn't work the full match. So, yes, a Bray Wyatt, Dusty Rhodes match with them rolling around in fat would be a dream come true. And the promos building up to it from these 2 men, dude. It's like, why'd you even put that seed in my head? Now I want to see it real bad, and I'm going to get mad that I'm not going to.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. So, appreciate you hanging out. I know, we always say we're going to go we'll go 45 or an hour, but it's never going to happen.
I talk too much.
we both talk too much. When I do these things with Jason, I do the majority of the talking, and I get his feedback, and it's quick. But when you
gotta find the old Jason, bro, from 2005 with the bowl cut. That's the one you gotta dig up.
No, man, I have the in love Jason. He's in love, and he's watching his wrestling, but he's got more important things to do. So.
I know, man. He's fucking fuck, man. He's whipped now. I want the old Jason back, the one that had the goofy haircut and was doing YouTube videos. Jason, if you're listening, come back to us. Pussy's only a 30-second satisfaction, bro. Wrestling is forever.
All right, so for Big D, shout out to the Dirty White Boy. I'm just messing with him. He's very available. It was my fault why we couldn't record, actually.
Well, wait. I do want to promote one quick thing. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do want to plug K-Fabulous because we're talking about Big Dust. Our next show after WrestleMania 26, we review the Great American Bash 96, and the commentary on that show has to be heard to be believed, because it was Tony and Dusty, no Bobby and no Mike Tenay, and Dusty Rhodes was absolutely out of his mind, and all you get on this show is Dusty Rhodes impressions from myself top to bottom. So great fun show, which will be airing after 26. It'll be next week.
All right, so Great American Bash 96. Is that Flair and Savage?
No, that's 95 you're thinking of. 96 was a great show. 96 was the Colin Nash powerbombing Bischoff through the table in that segment. It was Sting versus Regal. It was Mongo turning on Kevin Green and joining the Four Horsemen. Rey Mysterio's pay-per-view debut, even though it really wasn't, but you get what I'm the drift, against Dean Malenko. Pat Tanaka as El Gato versus Conan, and the main event was a giant Lex Luger. Remember, that was the show where Dave Meltzer, we love mentioning Dave on the I do, he loved that freaking show. If you read his Observer recap of it, he's like, it wasn't like a New Japan show, but these angles were so good, and the commentary was so great that it was a great show. That's a great show, dude. That's probably top 3 best WCW pay-per-views ever, so it's a fun show. I want everybody to download it next week.
All right, so for Big D, shout out to Dirty White Boy. We'll get him next time. It's my fault. I had to delay. But thanks to you for stepping in and kind of at the last minute too.
I'm the backup quarterback.
No, you're just someone I can rely. You're just a reliable person for when we need to emergency pod. We will see you when we see you. Next week, UFC 175 preview. That'll be up during the week, and then we'll have all kinds of coverage from Las Vegas on this show. Peace out.
Bye.